What's up, everybody? It's your favorite FPL YouTubers back at it with another Game Week preview and analysis, this time for Game Week 2, when the season really gets started. I'm Jarrett,
I'm Evan.
and this is How to FPL. All right, so we'll get right into recapping our performances from this past weekend. I had a very average score, I would say. I'm really glad that I had Trippier in there. I was debating him versus Perisic until pretty much the last second, and he ended up being the right pick, so that was good. Cancelo also somehow fluked 2 bonus points, even though he got a yellow card, which is kind of wild. But the Liverpool defenders both blanked, and I know a lot of people ran into that, and a lot of teams similar to mine with getting similar scores, really getting cut by those Liverpool defenders. Hopefully they start to score in the future. Otherwise, we might have to make some transfer considerations there. But elsewhere, no surprises really that the Leicester goalkeeper did not keep a clean sheet. I'm feeling really bad for the people with double Leicester keepers right now because I don't see them keeping many clean sheets, to be frank. But then elsewhere, Saka and Martinelli both got returns, so that was good to see. It's always a good sign when your captain scores the most points of anyone in your team. So definitely made the right decision there. And then, Bailey, Kane, and Jesus all blanked, unfortunately. I'd say, I don't think they'll continue to blank. Definitely, I think Jesus could be a good pick in the coming weeks, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good team. As you said, average. You did slightly above average, so good on you.
Very slightly.
And yeah, very slightly, but I don't know. I think looking at your team, I don't see any players that seem like mistakes, even in hindsight. Even Kane. Kane is arguably one, but obviously I had him too, but I think that he was a good shout for the first week, and it just didn't happen to pay off. So,
Yeah, hindsight is
all in
2020.
all, yep. Um, I was a really similar story. So as we discussed heading into this season, we had very similar teams coming into it. So one of our only differences was that I upgraded Martinelli to Mount and downgraded Cancelo to Walker to pay for it. And honestly, not the move because Martinelli played like a beast. Um, and he looks like a steal for 6 million. And I'm stuck with Mount, who looked so not dangerous throughout that whole game. So, definitely, I think looking at that, yeah, that was a mistake that cost me like a few points, you know, 7 points or something like that. Nothing crazy. But definitely something that I might be looking to move Mount on uh closely in the future. But outside of that, yeah, Captain Sala and satisfied with my defense outside of the Liverpool boys. Might have to move one of them on if Liverpool can't keep a clean sheet, but we'll just have to keep that one on the back burner for
We
now.
will see. And, it's a long season. Looking at this team, I think I can pretty comfortably say that you're going to have much better weeks than this. And you know what? With the rank you're starting out at here, there's most likely only green arrows from here. So,
There's only one way to go.
yeah, we'll see.
Rock bottom. Yep. So let's take a look at our general overview for the upcoming week because we know that's what all of you guys really care about. So yeah, some of our topics include city assets, particularly Holland, but we'll talk a little bit about City's defensive assets as well. Liverpool, um, Darwin, Trent, Robertson. We'll talk about Arsenal. We'll talk about the goalkeeper situation, and of course, we must consider whether it's worthy to bring in Daddy Welbeck
That guy.
for a -8. That guy.
Let's go.
So I guess Jared, yeah, let's let's just start with City and Holland. What are your thoughts on how they performed this week?
Yeah, that was a very convincing performance from Holland. I thought he might take a little while. I think we could pull up the receipts on my opinion. I thought he would take a little while to get going in the league, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. He looked like he was really feeling it against West Ham, and I see no reason why he won't be feeling it against Bournemouth as well. So, the only concern at this point for me with Holland is going to be his minutes, which for two reasons. One is that if City are up, 3 goals or so, you got to think he's going to be one of the first guys subbed off, just to save his legs. And two, once the Champions League gets going, you've got to think that at some point he's going to get pep rouletted, So it's not a concern right now, but in a few weeks we're going to have to start thinking about that.
Yep, I agree. And what do you think about the likes of Cancelo, Walker, or City mids?
Yeah, Cancelo and Walker. Um, early thoughts for me are that Cancelo is overpriced. Um, in the game against West Ham, City were essentially playing a 2-7-1 when they were in possession, with Cancelo and Kyle Walker being the farthest back in that seven. And so in possession, they were essentially playing like center defensive mids. And it is hard to see them getting any attacking returns really playing from those positions, other than maybe a fluke or a long range shot. And I can't see that either of them converting those too often. As far as City mids, I actually think my favorite one right now, especially if Bernardo Silva gets his transfer away, is Gundogan, because I've got to think he's pretty nailed. He looked very advanced, and he's only 7.5. So,
Absolutely. No, yeah. And it's funny because he wasn't on anyone's radar going in. But, he's historically been pretty explosive midfielder to own as far as fantasy asset.
yeah, I remember two
So
seasons ago he had a month where he just went on an absolute tear, and if he could recreate that kind of form, he'd be absolutely essential.
absolutely. And I think on that note, I mean, Grealish and Foden, I mean, depending on which one of them, if one of them or Mahrez can lock down a place that's a little more nailed and figure out how to link up with Holland, they could be one to watch as well. But maybe in the longer term rather than the short
Yeah,
term.
definitely. But in the shorter term, I was thinking, who do I think is most nailed out of that price range of mids? Probably Gundogan. So,
Probably right. What are your thoughts on Darwin?
yeah, he had a pretty crazy first game performance. He was only on for a little over 30 minutes, I think, and he somehow managed the highest expected goal involvement of any player that played in game week 1. So that's kind of crazy. We'll see if he can keep it up in this week, but he's got to be on everyone's watch list at this point, and he could be essential in a few weeks' time.
Absolutely. And then that leads perfectly into the next question, which is it's not so easy to do that for most of us who already have our three Liverpool slots filled up. So who's going to give?
Yeah,
Is it going to be a defender?
yeah, it remains to be seen. I think the jury is still out on that a little bit. You know, it especially with their fixtures, it's hard to think that you would want to sell Robbo, for example, but you've got to think he's the one who makes way for him. I don't really see any other way unless you're going to sell Salah. So
Yeah, but that is a good reason to wait and see instead of knee-jerking in Darwin this
yeah.
week, for sure. Um, we could talk a little bit about Arsenal as well. I know you have
Oh
some
man, the boys
choice
looked good
thoughts.
last week. I cannot wait for the next game. Now, for the first time, pretty much in my life, I am very optimistic about an Arsenal team. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. As far as the best three FPL assets, if we're taking their price into account, I've got to go Martinelli near the top at only 6 mil. I think he presents incredible value. He's nailed on for now. I think Smith Rowe's still injured, and Arsenal haven't really brought in another winger to compete with him, so I can't really see him getting too rotated for the time being. Another FPL asset that I had in a number of my drafts that I did not end up starting with was Zinchenko. He You're not going to like this comparison, but to me, he pretty much looked like Cancelo 2.0 on Friday. You know, he was really getting into those attacking positions all over that left side, and I that,
His heat map was very
yeah,
far up.
and that was a big criticism of him in preseason was that his heat map wasn't advanced enough. Well, when the real games happened, he was pretty advanced. So if I had to pick
Yeah,
a third Arsenal player, I'd go Jesus still. Even though he blanked, I think he'll score a lot of goals.
yeah. I think there was no Jesus gave us no reason to immediately sell him. He didn't score, but he didn't look like a dud
Exactly.
that game. So, and Zinchenko, I mean, I think Zinchenko is another one that looks really promising, but again, may just be a wait and see just by dint of the fact that I feel like we're a little bit unsure with Tierney coming back where Zinchenko is going to end up playing.
Definitely, yeah.
You would know better than I
I
do,
mean,
but
it's going to depend on the rest of Arsenal's transfer business too. So that's a good point. He could be more of a wait and see. You know, you have the triple Arsenal attack like I do right now. I don't think there's any reason to be panicking. You know, they got some great fixtures coming up.
for sure. And Ramsdale is always a go-to if you're in a keeper pickle.
Yeah, and
So
Saliba is already better than Van Dijk.
he did play well. He's a beast. We'll leave the comparisons for
Leave the
for
comparisons to the
now.
comments.
It's all about your Van Dyke. Leave a comment below. Um, and yeah, um, goalkeepers. I guess you mentioned Ward a little bit. Leicester's defense doesn't look too promising, but Sanchez, however, I think both of us have Ward and Sanchez. And Sanchez looks like a solid price at 4.5
Yeah,
mil.
I'm thinking I might just set Sanchez in my lineup and just play him every week, to be honest. He made some really good saves against United. I think he was also really unlucky to not keep a clean sheet. So it is United, you know. We can shit on them all we want, but he played pretty well. Brighton's defense didn't really seem to miss a step at all, even after losing Basuma and Cucurella. So I think he is going to present really good value at 4.5 mil.
Good shout. And speaking of Brighton, your boy
Everybody was talking about
D
Hoondav
Welbs,
coming this
we
season.
break.
Little did they know that the real Brighton striker asset was going to be that guy Welbs. Oh man,
I
I
know.
can't imagine. I can't believe we're saying this, but
Hey, all I'm saying is for those of you in the immersed in the FPL YouTube community might watch FPL Mate. Shout out to him. And he had a video about an AI that predicted the best game week one lineup, and it had Danny Welbeck as the only starting striker. So I think it's a sign of humanity's impending doom.
something like that.
But for real, should we move on?
No.
All right. So clean sheet, we have some staggering numbers this week for our clean sheet odds. City are placed at a 67% chance of getting a clean sheet facing Bournemouth at home. And meanwhile, Bournemouth have about an what is that, a 5% chance of keeping a clean sheet. So, man, that game is shaping up to be a real doozy. I'm excited to
I
watch
wouldn't
that
predict a
one.
0-0 there.
But yeah, Liverpool and Arsenal, man, Bournemouth keeper is getting 3 bonus if that's the case. That'd be nuts. Um, and it would also completely troll everybody who's transferring Holland in this week.
Yeah, that'd be
Hey,
typical FPL.
but I do think that a lot of us have City and Liverpool defenders. Few of us have Arsenal defenders. Um, so that's it's shaping up to be another good defensive week, at least in
If you
prospects.
don't have
Would you agree?
2 or 3 Man City plus Liverpool defenders, you're playing the game wrong. Look at those clean sheet percentages. All right. And
For
into
sure.
Twitter talk. Our topic of this week is Raheem Sterling's ass. I just I just want everybody to take a look at that top left picture. I'm sure everyone who was watching the game took note. When we were watching it live together, we were immediately trying to get the best screenshot of it. And I just want to ask the question of, like, I know that there's a ball underneath Sterling, but why is his back so arched? Like, his ass is just sticking out so much, and he already has an absolute dumpy, and now it's just protruding so much.
Yeah,
What is the reason?
I honestly think that's yellow card. That's yellow card worthy, to be honest. Like that's uncalled for, man. But seriously, and honestly, like of all the players to do that,
It
it had
had
to be
to.
him.
It
Come
had
on.
to. Oh my god. Sterling's a character. All right, we need to get back on the topic of
Yeah, and
FPL
Rio
here.
Ferdinand's a homie.
Getting into the goal
Yeah.
score odds for this week, I don't think it comes as any surprise that Erling Haaland is the top of the list by a significant margin at home against newly promoted Bournemouth, who many still have as their relegation favorites. This is a fixture that everyone's mouth was watering for when they came out, and the appetite is just whetted at this point, and we're waiting to be satiated. Uh, Following Holland, we have a few of the Liverpool assets. Gabriel Jesus, a couple more Man City players, then a bunch of randos nobody cares about. Thoughts, Evan?
Um, yeah. Well, I think Holland fully deserves this these numbers. That being said, we know Bournemouth won 2-0 last week. So I don't think it's going to be, that was against Villa, not a team that we were expecting to be pushovers this season. So, you know, again, especially if Holland's on pens, I think this number is fully deserved, but I think we should, um, you know, heed a little bit, some of the caution that might be advised, with expecting a
True,
Holland hat trick.
true.
Um, but I also, anyways, but again, I fully agree here, and I think it's interesting. Darwin, is third in this list. He's already on people's radar. He's already expected to be among the top goal scorers. So looking to snap.
That being said, about not getting ahead of ourselves with Holland, he is going to be my captain this week. And I imagine he'll be most people's captains. If we're checking out my lineup for this week, I'm pretty excited. I feel like most times when I say that, everybody ends up really underperforming, but I'm excited. Especially seeing a lot of home games, looking good. Sanchez could very easily end up keeping a clean sheet against Newcastle. Rallo and Trent, you've got to think that at home against Palace, at least one of them gets a return, maybe both. Trips at Brighton. It's not like Brighton are usually scoring for fun, and Newcastle look pretty sound defensively. That game could easily be a 0-0. Cancelo home against Bournemouth. We've been over this fixture. And then got my Arsenal
That's a
triple
lock.
up, home against Leicester. Their defense was leaky last season. It's looking like it's going to be leaky again this season. Some people might think of that as a tougher fixture for Arsenal, but if you're playing attacking assets, I actually think that's a great fixture. And then,
I think they're
yeah,
going to have a
yeah.
field
And
day.
then we've got Salah and Holland out there, who is probably in pretty much everyone's teams right now. It is a toss-up for some as far as who they're actually going to captain. But for me, it's got to be Holland. And then, yeah, the only real lineup question that I have right now is whether I want to play Andreas or Leon Bailey. And right now, I am leaning towards Andreas just because he has been taking up very advanced attacking positions. He's on a number of set pieces. And Wolves have been also playing a four-back and look a lot more defensively vulnerable than they have in previous seasons. I don't think that away to Wolves fixture is as scary for an attacker as it used to be. And then as far as Leon Bailey goes, I think the fixture is probably better than away to Wolves. But, Villa had a really bad performance against Bournemouth. They lost 2-0 to the team that many people think are going to be the worst team in the league this year. And you've got to think that Gerrard is going to make some changes. And to me, one of the most likely changes he could make is reverting back to his 4-4-2 formation, in which case it's either Leon Bailey missing out entirely or playing in a much less advanced role. And so, I could be wrong there. He could get an absolute haul against Everton. But I think at this point in time, I'd rather play Andreas than Bailey.
I think that's a good shout. And honestly, I mean, I hardly have anything else to say. I think your team looks great for this week, um, especially if
Yeah, yeah.
Holland
That's
performs
the big. All
and the triple Arsenal.
right, let's check out your
So,
team.
yeah. So pretty much the same, except as we talked about, I have Mount over Martinelli and Walker over Cancelo. So I think that's again just an objectively lesser expectation for this week. But I'm hoping my boy Mount can pull through. He
He
pulls
does. He
miracles
does.
sometimes, you know. He can literally like pull a
He,
random ass hat trick
we
out
were
of
talking
his.
about Mount
So you never
a
know.
week ago or so,
Um,
and I was telling you for Mount when it rains, it pours, but when it's a drought, it's really a drought. You know.
yeah, yeah. And hey, man, as an Arsenal fan, maybe you can get behind a Mount hat trick versus
Yeah, I
Tottenham.
can support
Would you
that. Yeah.
support me in that? Okay, thank you. It's funny, and we talked about this a little bit, but you went Andreas over Bailey. I I'm planning on going the other way. Um, I do case in point, or I take your point about the uncertainty of Villa and Bailey. However, I just don't think I've seen enough concrete results from Andreas to really start him yet, even though he looks promising. I think I'm fine taking the risk on Bailey. 2 goals, 2 assists in preseason, was seemingly was a starter. Now we're not sure, but I don't think we've been given concrete indication that he won't be either. So I'm happy taking the risk on him. It's probably not that big of a deal either way. I think both are good options, as you said. Um, and then yeah, my other questions just like more long term. Oh, and obviously I brought in Holland as well, although I did it a day too late, and so I lost a point 0.2 mil. That's an L, but he's still my captain. I love him. He's going to be in my team for the whole season. Love of my life. Incredible player,
Can't believe you didn't start with
destined
him.
for greatness. Um, but yeah, my questions are kind of
I said I can't believe you didn't
sorry.
start with.
Why didn't I start with him? I know. I was blind. I know. I was so blinded by the dark side, by my past allegiance to Harry Kane that I couldn't see the light, but now I have, and I'm never going back.
Gotcha.
I'm a convert. Um, so yeah, no, he's awesome. But Jared, what do you think I should do with Mount, huh? That's my question. What do you think I should do with Mount?
That is a very good question. Um, yeah, I wow. Oh man, that's a hard question to answer to be honest. I think most likely what you will end up doing is downgrading Mount and downgrading probably Robbo to then upgrade your 3 point or to upgrade your bench striker to Darwin. That makes sense.
I think it does, and I can definitely see myself doing that. Especially because I do have, if Martinelli continues his form, such an easy downgrade from Mount to Martinelli. It does seem just like why would
Yeah,
I
too
consider anyone
easy.
else?
Free keys.
So definitely could be in the works. And that covers all our
I
bases,
believe
I
so.
think. Hell yeah.
I reckon so. All right. Well, that being said, make sure to like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment. That'd be kind of fire. And then check us out on Instagram and Twitter. Yeah, Saliba
Saliba
versus
versus
Van
Van
Dyke.
Dyke.
Who are we thinking? At how to underscore FPL. It's lit.
Thank you guys, and see you next
Bye.
week.